Well, Yousef Alhelou is a political analyst and head of Gaza TVNews, and he joins me now from London. Thanks very much for your time on Good Morning Europe. Now, we are hearing that there are moves towards this ceasefire which are gaining ground. Will Hamas stop firing their rockets, do you think, if Israel stops its bombardment?
Well, I think, yes, both sides are still ongoing with these mediation efforts. Hamas said that it is willing to stop its fire rocket from Gaza if Israel does and abide by this mediation. But so far, for the 10th consecutive day, Israel is still flexing its missiles, inflicting heavy damage. Israel wants to achieve a quick victory at the expense of the Palestinian suffering by destroying more high-rise towers and killing more Palestinians, the vast majority of whom have been civilians so far. We know that a number of key players in the region are intervening, including Egypt, the European Union, and another regional countries. Israel rejected all those mediation efforts because it wanted more time, 2-3 days. And also we know that Joe Biden is also in talks with Israeli Prime Minister. So the developments are still ongoing on the ground. Israel wants to restore what it calls the power of deterrence. And this means Israel is using excessive force in order to teach Hamas a lesson. But as a matter of fact, it's the whole population in Gaza who is bearing the brunt of this aggression on Gaza, not only the resistance groups.
We've seen a lot of the impact on the humanitarian impact on the ground in Gaza, but how has this conflict changed the political landscape in Gaza and the other Palestinian territories?
I think the whole world knows that the situation in Gaza is a political one. It's not a humanitarian issue. Gaza has been under blockade for the past 13 years, and the regional countries, even Arab countries who normalize ties with Israel, they have been urging the Israeli side to ease the situation in Gaza and to alleviate the suffering. Now, Gaza will need some years to rebuild itself. Pledges have been made previously to rebuild Gaza. So the humanitarian situation is important at this critical point. It has been already deteriorating under years of siege. Power cuts are the norm. Gaza is totally isolated from the outside world. 2 million people live in this coastal sliver, and Israel controls what goes in and what gets out.
Just briefly, are you disappointed by the international response, not just the US and the EU, but also the regional powers in the Middle East?
Palestinians blame the international community, especially the United States, which is Israel's closest ally. They also blame the Arab countries who normalize ties. They blame anybody, the UN Security Council, that failed for the 4th time to issue condemnation against Israel, because a lot of things can be done. Israel can be stopped, but they say Israel is enjoying a culture of impunity in light of the international conspiracy of silence.
Yousef Alhelou, Palestinian journalist, thanks very much for joining us there from London.